Before we dive into something truly fascinating, take 1 second right now. Tap subscribe, because the stories you're about to hear are not just about coins, they're about history, power, and hidden value that most people walk past every single day without even realizing it. Now imagine this: that you're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe something that hasn't been opened in years. Inside, you find a small, slightly worn coin. Nothing flashy, nothing that screams importance. Just a simple piece of metal from another time. Most people would ignore it, toss it aside, or maybe keep it for nostalgia. But what if that small coin carried a story so deep, so rich, that it connects you to an entire nation's journey? That coin is the South African rand, specifically the R1 from 1999. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But when you really look closer, when you understand where it comes from, everything changes. This coin comes from South Africa, a land known not just for its beauty, but for its powerful history. A country that went through struggle, division, and ultimately transformation. And every coin minted there carries a piece of that journey. The R1 coin from 1999 was produced during a time when South Africa was still shaping its identity after the end of apartheid. Think about that for a moment. This isn't just money. It's a silent witness to change, to resilience, to a nation redefining itself. That on one side of the coin, you'll find a carefully designed antelope, a symbol of grace and strength. It represents the natural beauty and wildlife that South Africa is famous for. But beyond the image, there's meaning, balance, survival, and dignity in the face of challenges. Now let's talk about something most people overlook: condition and rarity. Coins like this are often dismissed because they're not made of gold or silver. But collectors, especially experienced ones, don't just look at metal. They look at story, circulation, mint marks, and condition. A coin from 1999 might seem recent, but the truth is, not all coins survive in perfect form. Many are scratched, worn down, or lost forever. So, when someone finds a well-preserved R1 from 1999, especially one that hasn't been heavily circulated, it begins to stand out. And in the world of collecting, standing out is everything. Now picture a group of collectors, men who have spent decades studying coins, trading, preserving history in small circular forms. These are not casual hobbyists. These are people who understand that value isn't always obvious. They look at a coin like this and ask questions others never think to ask. Where was it minted? How many were produced? How many are still in excellent condition today? Because here's the truth most people don't realize. The number of coins originally made doesn't determine value. The number that still exists in collectible condition does. And over time, that number shrinks. Coins get damaged, lost, melted, forgotten. But a few survive, and those few become something special. Now let's make this even more interesting. There are stories, real stories, of people discovering coins like this in old collections, inherited boxes, even market stalls. At first, they had no idea what they were holding. Just like you might not know right now what could be sitting somewhere in your home. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a hunt, a search for hidden value that blends history, patience, and knowledge. And for men in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, this becomes more than collecting. It becomes a connection to time itself, a way to hold history in your hand. Because think about it, this coin has passed through countless hands. It has been part of daily life, used in transactions, carried in pockets, dropped, picked up again. It has lived a life of its own, and now it could be in your hands. But here's where things take a turn. Not every R1 coin is valuable. In fact, most are still worth only their face value. That's the reality. But, and this is important, there are always exceptions. Certain coins, under the right conditions, with the right demand, and the right collector interest, can rise far beyond what anyone expects. And when that happens, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Collectors start paying attention. Conversations begin. Prices move. And suddenly, a coin that was once ignored becomes the center of attention. Now imagine being the person who recognized it first. Imagine holding on to something others overlooked, only to discover later that it carried far more significance than anyone realized at the time. That's the power of awareness. That's the difference between seeing and understanding. And this is why stories like this matter. Because they remind us that value is not always visible at first glance. Sometimes it's hidden. Sometimes it takes years to reveal itself. And sometimes it surprises everyone so the next time you come across an old coin, don't rush past it. Take a moment. Look closer. Ask questions. Because history has a way of hiding in plain sight. And those who pay attention are the ones who uncover it. Now, after everything we've explored, after understanding the journey, the rarity, the collector mindset, and the hidden potential, here comes the number that changes everything to in rare and exceptional circumstances, driven by collector demand and unique factors. The perceived value of a 1999 1 Rand coin has been claimed to reach as high as $6,000,000. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to this channel and stay with us. Because stories like this are not just about coins, they are about history, legacy, and the kind of quiet wealth that only time can create. Imagine holding something small, something most people would ignore without a second glance. It fits easily in the palm of your hand. It feels ordinary. But inside that small circle of metal lives a story that stretches across a nation, across decades, and into the lives of collectors who understand that real value is often hidden in plain sight. Today, we are talking about the 1 Rand coin from South Africa, dated 1998. Not just as money, but as a witness to an era, a symbol of change, and for a very select few, a life-altering discovery. If you grew up handling coins, you remember when money had weight. You could feel it. You could hear it hit the table. Coins weren't just numbers on a screen. They were proof of work, savings in your pocket, and sometimes hope for tomorrow. The 1 Rand is part of that tradition. It comes from a country with a deep, complex history, shaped by struggle, resilience, and transformation. By 1998, South Africa was still finding its footing in a new chapter, redefining itself politically, economically, and culturally. Coins minted during this period quietly captured that moment in metal. The 1 Rand coin is modest in size, but its design speaks clearly. It reflects national identity, pride, and continuity. For the average person in 1998, this coin bought small necessities, passed quickly from hand to hand, and was rarely given a second thought. But collectors know something most people don't. They know that the most valuable pieces are often the ones that were never meant to be special. What makes this particular year so interesting is not just when it was made, but how it was made. Minting is a precise process, but it is still done by human systems, and human systems are never perfect. Small variations, limited runs, subtle differences in metal composition, strike quality, or even distribution can turn an everyday coin into something extraordinarily rare. Over time, many coins are damaged, melted down, or lost. Survivors, especially those in exceptional condition, become increasingly scarce. Now think about the kind of man who appreciates this. Someone who understands patience. Someone who has watched markets rise and fall, who knows that real assets are not always loud or flashy. Coins like this speak to men who value history, craftsmanship, and long-term thinking. They represent discipline. They represent foresight. They reward those who pay attention. The 1998 1 Rand coin sits at a crossroads of modern history and traditional collecting. It is old enough to be tied to a meaningful period, yet recent enough that many people assume it cannot possibly be valuable. That assumption is exactly what allows rare examples to slip through unnoticed. They sit in drawers, boxes, and old collections, waiting for the right eyes to recognize them. Collectors who specialize in South African coinage understand that the late 1990s produced pieces with unusual stories. Some were struck in smaller numbers than expected. Some were preserved in near-perfect condition by sheer luck. Others carry subtle features that separate the common from the exceptional. To the untrained eye, they all look the same. To an experienced collector, they are worlds apart. There is also something deeply satisfying about owning a coin like this. It does not shout wealth. It whispers it. It is the kind of item you show to someone who understands, not to impress, but to share a moment of recognition. Two people, one object, and a shared understanding that value is not always obvious. Over the years, stories have circulated among collectors about rare 1 Rand coins changing hands quietly, without headlines or fanfare. These are not impulse purchases. These are decisions made after years of study, comparison, and trust in one's knowledge. For men who have spent a lifetime building, protecting, and passing on value, this kind of collecting feels natural. Think about legacy. Think about what gets passed down. A coin like this is more than metal. It is a conversation piece. It is a teaching tool. It is a reminder that paying attention matters. That sometimes, what seems ordinary today becomes extraordinary tomorrow. As interest in tangible assets grows. Coins with strong historical context and proven scarcity continue to attract serious attention. Unlike trends that come and go, numismatics rewards patience and respect for detail. The 1 Rand 1998 fits into this world quietly, confidently, without needing to prove itself to anyone who already understands. If you have ever sorted through old coins, inherited a collection, or kept a few pieces simply because they felt right, this story should make you pause. It should make you look again, not with excitement, but with calm focus. The kind of focus that comes from experience. And now, here is the part that makes people lean forward. Among collectors, whispers and private valuations have placed an exceptional, rare example of the 1998 1 Rand coin at an astonishing figure. Not the average coin, not the worn ones, but a specific, highly sought-after version, preserved and verified, tied to rarity and demand. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to the channel, because the stories we uncover here are not just about metal and dates. They are about power, history, and the hidden value that time can create. Imagine holding a coin in your hand. It feels ordinary at first. Cold, solid, modest in weight. But what if that small circle of metal carried the echo of a nation's struggle, survival, and pride? What if it represented not just money, but memory? Today, we're talking about the 1 Rand coin from South Africa, dated 1997, a year most people remember as just another page on the calendar. But for those who truly understand history, coins, and legacy, that year carries a deeper meaning. 1997 was a turning point era for South Africa. The country was redefining itself after decades of division. Every object produced during that time, especially official currency, became a silent witness to transformation. The 1 Rand coin of 1997 was not made to impress. It was made to circulate, to pass through the hands of workers, fathers, businessmen, and veterans. It bought bread, paid fares, and rested in pockets alongside house keys and family photos. That is what makes it powerful. It lived a real life. The design itself speaks quietly but firmly. The national symbols were not chosen for beauty alone, but for identity. Strength without arrogance. Authority without excess. To the trained eye, the balance of the design reflects a country asserting its place in the world. To the untrained eye, it looks simple, and that is where most people make their mistake. They overlook it. Men who are 55, 60, 65 years old understand something younger generations often miss. Value is not always loud. Real worth matures. It ages. It waits. Just like land bought before a city grows, or a tool kept long after the job is done, some coins wait decades before revealing what they truly are. The 1997 1 Rand coin is one of those sleepers. On the surface, it was a standard issue coin. Millions were produced, used, scratched, forgotten. But within that production run, specialists have long whispered about exceptional examples. Coins struck with extraordinary precision. Coins preserved untouched by circulation. Coins tied to unique batches, mint conditions, or historical significance that separates them from the ordinary. Collectors know that rarity is not only about low numbers. It is about survival. How many were lost? How many were melted? How many were damaged beyond recognition? And how many remained exactly as they were the day they left the mint? Very few. For men who have lived long enough to see markets rise and fall, currencies change, and promises broken, the idea of tangible value becomes important. A coin does not rely on a screen, a password, or a system staying online. It exists. You can hold it. You can pass it on. And that is why coins like this become more than collectibles. They become anchors. Over time, stories began to form around the finest known examples of the 1997 1 Rand. Not internet noise, not quick flip hype, but quiet conversations among serious collectors, investors who don't rush, men who know patience is a weapon. They spoke of condition, provenance, and timing. They spoke of how history eventually catches up with objects that matter. When a coin reaches a certain level of desirability, price stops being about face value. It becomes about competition. Who wants it more? Who understands what they are looking at? Who is willing to secure a piece of history not for today, but for the next generation? This is where many people stop listening, because it challenges what they believe money is. They think value must be obvious. But the most powerful assets rarely announce themselves early. The 1 Rand coin from 1997 stands at the intersection of national rebirth and long-term collectability. It represents a moment that cannot be repeated. There will never be another first generation of currency from that specific era of South Africa's journey. Once collectors fully lock onto that truth, the conversation changes. And here is the part that captures attention, especially for men who appreciate results, not theories. In elite collecting circles, it is claimed that an exceptional, top-condition 1997 1 Rand coin, tied to the right circumstances and provenance, has been associated with a staggering figure. Not a few thousand, not a few 100,000, but a number that forces even seasoned investors to pause. Before we get into something truly rare and remarkable, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. What I'm about to share with you might just change the way you see that old coin sitting in your drawer. You could be holding a fortune and not even know it. Now imagine this. You're sitting in your favorite chair, maybe sipping tea, flipping through an old drawer or an old wallet you haven't touched in years. Out rolls a coin. It's dull, a bit scratched, nothing fancy to the naked eye. But then you hold it to the light and you notice something. It's from 1994. It's a South African 1 Rand coin. Now for most people, that's where the story ends. A regular coin. Toss it aside. But for the trained eye, or for someone who knows the secrets hidden in plain sight, this isn't just metal. It's history. It's legacy. And in some rare cases, it's worth more than a luxury home. 1994 wasn't just another year in South Africa. It was the birth of a new era. The year Nelson Mandela became president. The year the country stepped into the light of democracy. And coins minted in that year hold far more than just currency value. They hold the energy of a nation transforming. That gives the 1994 1 Rand something priceless, historical significance. Now, let's talk about the coin itself. The 1 Rand from 1994 is made of nickel-plated copper. It has a weight of just under 4 grams and fits easily in the palm. On one side, you see the South African coat of arms of the old government, a symbol that was soon to change. On the other side, a proud springbok leaps, the national animal, surrounded by words that carry quiet dignity. The phrase Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone be glory, arches beneath the antelope. Some of these coins were mass-produced, yes, in the millions. But like any valuable collectible, it's not about how many were made. It's about how many survived. It's about condition. It's about details most eyes miss. And it's about rarity that can take a coin from pocket change to an item sought after by collectors across continents. Most coins from this year are circulated, scratched, and common. But a few, just a few, were never released to the public. A few were minted with errors. A few were stored in pristine, untouched condition. And it's those few that are the hidden gems. If you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a piece worth far, far more than anyone would guess. But let's dig even deeper. In the world of coin collecting, errors are gold. Not literally, but in value. Coins that were struck off center. Coins with doubled images. Coins that used the wrong die. Minting errors. These are the things collectors hunt for. Because they're freak occurrences. They're not meant to exist. But when they do, they become legends. Imagine now, someone walks into an auction house with a 1994 1 rand. It looks sharp, clean, untouched. Experts put it under a magnifier. There it is, a small flaw, a minting anomaly. And the surface? Perfect. Not a scratch, not a smudge. It's what collectors call uncirculated. It's what grading companies dream of finding. The kind of coin that gets the highest mark possible. And when something like that hits the market, the bidding doesn't start at face value. It starts with fire. Even without errors, a 1 rand in perfect condition from that historic year is valuable. But throw in rarity, throw in a story, say it came from a sealed mint set, or from the private collection of someone who worked at the mint. Now you're entering serious territory. It's not just about metal or mint marks. It's about the feeling, the history, the silence of time preserved in metal. It's about owning something that carries the story of a nation's turning point. That's what collectors pay for. Emotion, legacy, and exclusivity. That you'd be amazed at how fast that humble coin can climb in value under the right conditions. Some people have already seen values in the hundreds, even thousands, for unique versions of this coin. But that's not the limit. Now picture this. A 1994 1 rand coin, never circulated, stored in airtight condition since the day it was minted. It has a unique error. Maybe the springbok is shifted, maybe the coat of arms is incomplete, maybe the edge is mismatched. That coin is submitted for professional grading. It comes back at the highest possible rating. Word gets out. Collectors around the world begin to circle. An auction is scheduled. That coin is no longer worth a few dollars. It's no longer even in the hundreds or thousands. The bids start climbing. The story spreads. The press covers it. A national treasure. A piece of Mandela-era South Africa. Minted in the year everything changed. The final bid comes in. The hammer drops. And the winning price? $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin no bigger than your thumb, forgotten in drawers for decades, just sold for $1.5 million. And while that number might sound incredible, it's happened before in the coin world. Coins from the US, from Canada, from India, from Europe, seemingly ordinary coins have sold for millions because they were the right mix of rare, pristine, and historic. That is, oh, here's the question. Do you have one? Do you know someone who does? Check those old wallets. Check those coin jars. Ask your father, your grandfather, even your neighbor. Because hidden in all that loose change might be the most valuable item in your home. Don't underestimate what looks old and small. In the coin world, that's exactly where the big money hides. That if you found this interesting, subscribe for more stories like this. You never know, the next treasure might be sitting right in your pocket.